Hi, my name is Gregory Laskey, and I just recently finished reading The Charlton Story by Earl Perry Charlton II and George Winius. The book is a biography about the life and hardships of a young businessman from the late 19th century named Earl Perry Charlton. Some of the most important characters in the book are Seymour Knox, who Charlton met as a young man while working for Thomas C. Newell and Company. They were responsible for selling kitchen and window goods to retailers. During this time, Charlton worked as a traveling salesman for 8 years and had saved up several $100s. Charlton developed a friendship with Knox's partner, another important character by the name of Frank Woolworth. Woolworth was Knox's cousin, and the two operated a store based in Buffalo, New York. Knox opened his first store in Reading, Pennsylvania as part of a joint venture with the cousin, and by 1888 the two men had operated several stores towards upstate New York. Woolworth, however, wanted to operate stores independently, setting his sights on future opening in Syracuse, New York. Knox took this as an opportunity to buy out the stores both he and Woolworth operated together. In 1889, Earl Charlton approached his friend about the possibility of opening a 5 and 10 cent store. Both agreed to put their profits together and form a partnership, but Knox would still continue to operate his previous stores independently. Their goal was to expand to states that had yet to discover 5s and 10s and also extend past the Canadian border. Knox got the Woolworth brothers' blessing for their new partnership, and Frank knew it would only help build his buying power, and in February of 1890, both Knox and Charlton purchased their first store in Fall River, Massachusetts. The gentlemen generated good profit with the guide of Woolworth's principles, and in 1896 they decided to operate their personal fortunes separately. Knox was still set on operating stores in New England, leaving Charlton to make a brave and bold decision to expand north of Canada and in the area west of the Rocky Mountains, thinking that if he did stay in the area, he would be competing with Seymour Knox and the Woolworth brothers. Charlton sold 9 of his 12 stores to Woolworth and infused a strong opening drive towards Canada, where he started out his national success in Montreal, and because of this location, he was not forced to borrow and made dues on his own. After 8 openings to the west of the Rockies and in Canada, Charlton decided to head even further west, where he opened 3 stores in California. Weeks after Charlton had opened a large and well-appointed store in San Francisco, the city was razed to the ground by a devastating earthquake, resulting in complete destruction of the store. This, however, did not stop Charlton, as he had an established formula for repeatable openings, and just weeks after the earthquake, he was the first retailer to get a replacement up and open on its new site nearby. In 1907, Charlton would follow the same path of some of his friendly rivals, becoming president of a company instead of just an owner. The company would open the largest store back in Fall River, where they started out. Like Woolworth and Knox's accomplishments, the store was elegant with mahogany-based counters and polished wooden floors, lit brightly by electric lamps. Charlton benefited greatly with his stores in the Midwest and several in California, not to mention some closer to home and back in Fall River, and in 1909 Charlton launched the Charlton Mill, a separate organization for the 5 and 10 cent stores, to prove that he could spin both enterprises timely and oversee the trading performance of his stores run by young managers at a distance. In 1911, Frank Woolworth brought forward a grand scheme proposing a partnership to expand their talents into a huge corporation and sell to the public. Charlton was persistent on maintaining stores in the west of the country and told Woolworth that it needed to go about that way if both were going to make a legitimate national business. Another trait that Charlton showed was that even if his employees had crossed him, he had the utmost care for his staff and wanted them to be taken care of properly when under the Woolworth name as well. This merger was popular with investors, and for the next 28 years, Charlton attended meetings back and forth on sites in New York and helped provide new strategies to make the company more efficient. This required less attention needed at the 5s and 10s, and although Charlton had purchased several homes, one in Palm Meadow, which was destroyed by a fire but rebuilt, and another in Palm Beach, rather than spend all of his riches generated by the merger, Charlton established a charitable foundation which still continues to do a great deal of good work to this day. For over a century, it has given the modern-day equivalent of $1 billion to fund hospitals, schools, and universities. Some of this money was donated to Southeastern Massachusetts University, now known as the University of Massachusetts Dartmouth, and the Charlton College of Business. Ultimately, Charlton gave more of his fortune to charity than any of the other American merchant princes of the early 20th century. Earl Perry Charlton died on November 20th, 1930, at the age of 67. He was highly active up until the last summer, where he had become ill. He built a reputation for integrity and honesty in his dealings, both professionally and in supporting his staff, even in difficult circumstances. It is a measure of the man that he planned for the future, with generous legacies for his family, staff, and those who had helped him throughout his life, but still left the lion's share of the estate to his good causes. They still benefit to this day. A couple of themes that I noticed occurred throughout the reading were that many letdowns that Charlton had to endure independently in the early 20th century, and also his constant donations to charity. I would give this book a 9 because I think it is really cool that someone could gain so much, but also have the heart to do good things with their money. And I would absolutely recommend this book to anyone who is in pursuit of a higher education or making their life a success in the right way, not to mention the business field, and should go about them like Earl Charlton did. Thank you.